Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So this is an interview preparation for David from Royal Holloway University, who's going for his interview at one of the companies in UK. He's a student of PSW, and he's going there basically. He passed his first interview, so this is his last interview. And the role is governance specialist for OT, operational technology. Now, this role is very good for anyone who wants to who comes from engineering background. So all the engineers, even though David, his background doesn't, he doesn't come from the engineering background. However, surprisingly, he's coming from like a financial background, right? From finance. But regardless of that, he came, to UK on a student visa without any background whatsoever. He studied over courses, and then, alhamdulillah, all praises belongs to Allah. Now he's going for his basically sessions, right? So this is going to be a very short presentation because I've already went through all of those things. So let's do this. I'm going to ask you the question, David, and you have to prepare. You have to give me the answers. Now, keep this in mind. I'm going to give you the critique. And then you have to go back and improve this thing. And I'm going to suggest you, once you improve this thing, call me back before, at night time or something like that in UK, because I really want you to secure this job, right? Okay. So now say Bismillah and then start. Okay. So David, where are you going to start from? Actually, his name is something different, but, because he wants to preserve his confidentiality of the name, before he secures the job, because this is his final interview, he's using a pseudonym, David, right? Or Dawood or whatever, right? But his name is different. Okay, so David, go ahead. Start. You have the privilege. You have the access. Go and start presenting your presentation. You have to impress me in 15 minutes.
Okay, Faisal bhai, I'm just trying to share my slides.
It's coming like, very, I would say, you have
Yes,
to,
Faisal bhai.
it's coming very, very, zoomed in. You have to zoom out a little bit. Yes, this is better. Okay. Bismillah. Okay. Now, welcome. Okay. Good to see you, David. Our first interview was very good. So we selected few of the candidates. You are one of them, and there are a few more for the final interview. This is the final interview. If you pass this, and all the participants over here, if they're happy and they're glad with your, with your presentation, then this is going to be, this can secure the spot, and you can be given the privilege of working at Drax. So please proceed. We provided you all the things that we wanted to see. Now give us a presentation that shows us what do you have.
Okay, Faisal bhai, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Starting with the name of Allah, from whom the best things are accomplished. So this is my presentation regarding a scenario. So first of all, I welcome you all. So a little bit about a company. On the second slide, we have, so what we do actually. So we have a different kind of services and different kind of plants we do pellet production, we have a biomass sales and logistics, and we also do power generation. Actually, this is one of the largest power generation company, and this is which is one of the largest company that provides largest source of renewable power, which contributes 12% of the UK's renewable electricity in 2021. So we have also other services like renewable supply and services that provides electrical vehicles. Team helps to customer make the transition to electrical vehicles. So let's move forward.
So let me give you a quick feedback on the first slide. There is no need to explain to them what they already know, right?
Okay.
Name of the company, today's objective. Just start with today's objective. Today's objective is that, I was given a present, some data regarding a report from KPMG, and that is the scope of the meeting. So we're just going to go and jump in there. What we do, just say, what Drax is, everybody knows. This is not Drax the Destroyer. You can show them a funny picture. This is Drax, the company that makes a difference. We don't destroy, we actually help basically establish or provide a critical service to the British people and around the world, right? And makes a big difference. So you can say something like this, right? There's no need to say what we do. They already know. Okay. Next.
Okay.
Next slide.
Okay. So as I would be a part of security mission, so I've got this from the Drex document. So this is just a quick overview of what we do, as we have some critical assets. So obviously we have to protect those assets.
So this is where you will say, security mission. As I was able to understand and decipher from the document given to me, this is one of the most important team in the whole organization. Normally GRC people are, because they assist in the governance, risk, and compliance. So, people, processes, and technology. And that's exactly what this slide covers: people, processes, and technology. And then that's the security mission. We emphasize on people, we emphasize on building up the processes, and then we emphasize on deploying the technology. That's it. Move to the next slide. That's how you have to talk, David. This is very, very important. You don't have much time on the slides. Next slide.
Okay, so we are going to talk about the scope. So the task has been given to me, and already an audit has been conducted on OT security controls. And they have identified multiple weaknesses in implementation of those controls. And there is another scenario has been given as well, and there are some snapshots of audit findings. So let's see what are the findings. So the findings are, there are 5 highs, 12 medium, and 22 lows.
Just quickly, just take a breather. So when I say the scope of the presentation, you have to mention, go back, and this is how you have to improve yourself. So what is the scope of today's presentation? So you will mention that on the top, and then in the bottom, in the middle, you will say there's an external audit an external audit was conducted by KPMG. So you will just mention KPMG audit report, as I was drawing the slides for you, right? KPMG audit report. However, and that's the scope of today's presentation. We'll be discussing and taking a deep dive down the rabbit hole to understand and what we have to do. The second thing is there are certain inherent limitations while I'm going through this presentation, and that is I don't have access to the policies, the procedures, the ISMS, the OT policies, the IT policies, or access to knowing what are the people involved in this exercise, what are the processes, and what are the technological components. I don't have access to any of those things. So whatever I say, will be based on my experience and my hypotheses of the minimum information that has been given to me. So I'll be deducting and deducing all the recommendations from drawing them from my experience and my inspiration in terms of how it should be. However, just wanted to let everyone know that I don't have access to any of these documents. Okay, so it was just this was just one document that was presented to me and that mentioned some things. That is how you have to mention this. So write it down, each and every word. Say it as I'm saying it right now. David, this is very important. You have to copy me. Okay, you have to copy me. Like in Islam, we have been asked to copy the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was asked to copy the messengers. In the Quran, it is mentioned. And for us, he said, follow me. So we have to follow him, right? So that's why you see this and you see this, right? But even with this and this, I've been working as a CIO in the company, so it doesn't matter. So what matters is how you are presenting yourself. That's the most important thing, right? So that's how you present. Okay, next slide. In the next slide, you will say findings, right? Findings. These are the findings. There are 5 highs, 12 medium, 22 lows, right? HML could have been HMC, Her Majesty, but that's not there, right? So it's HML right now. You have to add some you have to spice it up a little bit, right? Something like that. There are 5 highs, 12 mediums, 22 lows, and that's the scope of today's presentation. And we're going to go in dig in deeper what those are. Next slide. Go, explain to me.
Okay, so here are some findings in it. So they have mentioned in a background that there are some broad recommendations which over corporate risk appetite, and the framework used by audit has not been adopted by the company. So some variations within our risk appetite may be acceptable. So again, I don't know anything about risk appetites. The controls implemented by various engineering departments across the group in line with the policy and standards are set by group security. So the findings cover many areas and the recommendations are broad and in some cases over and above our corporate risk. So, okay,
Yeah,
so move on to.
no, just wait. I'm going to give you the
Okay.
feedback there and then, right? Just there and then.
Okay. Okay.
So I'm going to share the screen with you quickly. And this, instead of this picture, like there's an obese man over here, right? We call them Big Bertha. You know, I took my kids to Ripley's, oddities, right? Yesterday. And I showed them Big Bertha. It was a big man or woman, whatever, like it was like, and that's a phrase everyone uses in the West. Like, right? If I have to search online, I can show you the, Big Bertha, right? It's also a superhero, like used in comics, right? So I'm just going to show you something. This was a very, very fat man. Her name was a woman. Her name was Bertha Hayman, right? 19th century American criminal, also known as Big Bertha, right? Or the Confidence Queen. Anyway, so this is what you have to show. I mean, you don't have to show this. So don't show that picture. The picture that you have showed to me, like this one. No, there's no need for that. Show something like this. This is a risk appetite versus risk tolerance. And now this is where you will mention. You will mention something that, within the audit report, there are certain things which are mentioned. And the recommendations and what basically the KPMG audit report is stating is that there are certain things that, and I'm going to open that file right now because I have that file. It says, as per the KPMG audit report, if I have to summarize that finding, we are utilizing IT controls to secure OT, or IT controls to measure operational technology OT. And we are implementing, and there's a significant lack of, clear and concise guidance for operational technology. And that's the key word in the whole report, which is significant lack of clear and concise guidance. That should be written here somewhere, showing this picture, on the top, risk appetite versus, this should be the next slide, right? So you should mention something like there's a significant, KPMG audit finding, which highlights this thing. And they mention it here. Let me show it to you. It says, you see this? They say in the report, there is a significant lack of clear and concise guidance for operational technology. Now do emphasize, while we do have the ISMS, which defines minimum controls, clearly for IT systems, all the information security management systems access controls, boundary access controls, network access controls, patching, all of these things. Yes, it's great. But for OT, it's a different beast, right? It needs to be tackled differently, right? And that is what is, mentioned here. And then you say the framework used by the audit has not been adopted by XXS. So some variation within. Where are you getting this from? Where are you getting this from?
It's from background information, Faisal, not from here, not in this document. No.
You have to like where are you seeing the information that the framework used by the audit has not been adopted by XXS or some variation? Where is it mentioned? Where is it in the background information?
It's in the background information.
Oh, there in the document?
Yes.
Okay, that is a risk, but in the risk description, right? If you look at the risk description, right? It mentions a couple of other things, right? Okay, go ahead. Continue. Explain to me this slide. Share your screen again. Go ahead. I really want you to ace this interview, inshallah. Okay. So I will be very tough on you. If I'm tough on you, you will see that they will be very light on you.
Can you see my slides, Faisal?
No, not yet.
So I've lost my control.
You should be given access. Yusuf, yeah, you are a co-host. You should be co-host, yes. So you can share your screen.
Yeah, but I have to advance.
Okay, that's fine. I will share my screen and then you can tell me what this is, right? Okay.
Okay.
Put the slide on your side. All right, so explain to me this slide. What is happening here?
Okay, so this is the background information that I've got from the document that has been provided. So it mentions that the audit report has some findings, and based on these findings, they've mentioned that there are some recommendations are broad and over corporate risk appetite, and the framework used by the audit has not been adopted by the company. So some variations within our risk appetite may be acceptable. So let's move on. Second slide.
This is how you will, in all of this presentation, you have to give them a qualifying statement. The qualifying statement is going to be, yes, in the risk description of the report, things were provided to me, right? And this is where you will show them a slide like this, I'm just going to hypothesize, or, I'm just going to do some hypothesis over here to see and understand where we are. Every organization has their own risk appetite versus risk tolerance, right? What is our risk appetite? How much we can tolerate? I have no idea, but because of the minimum information that was given to me, I'm just going to look into how we can address these things to the best of my capability, right? The rest, if given more information on hand, then I would have been able to provide you more insights on how we should tackle, these risks as per our risk appetite and risk tolerance levels, right? Okay. So because this whole interview is nothing but using words. It's nothing but using words. So your words needs to be eloquent, and it needs to touch them, because all of these people have been working in GRC. GRC people are very dry people, right? And you have to touch their vocal cords, their hard cords, there, and they say, okay, yes, we can see him working with us. That's what you have to show it to them. Okay. Now this is finding part 2. Go ahead.
Yes. So here I would like to tell you that there are some descriptions has been provided in a scenario, and that scenario is attached with an appendix. So in appendix there are some risk description. So that mentions that there is a ISMS and which that they have mentioned that there is a ISMS defined minimum controls clearly for IT systems, and there is a significant lack of clear and concise guidance for OT.
Yeah.
So yeah, so the OT security standard, which sits below the operation technology policy, references standards that sit below the IT security policy, and the content is not always applicable to OT. So there are some consequences, and the consequences are that the operational efficiency may be detrimentally impacted due to the inconsistent implementation of security controls. So control implementation may not be robust or increase our security risk. So yeah, that's all about this slide.
No, so here's the thing, you have to mention this clearly. You have to say, some of the key findings within the audit report are, lack of clear and concise guidance for operational technology. I mean, what we are doing is that we are utilizing, and you have to use the word "we" because consider them as you are part of them, yourself as part that you are part of them. You say that we have the guidance, but we are using IT guidance, and IT controls for OT. So that creates a lot of confusion for the OT staff to understand, because IT and OT both are separate. They require separate controls. They require separate, the philosophy of handling them is separate. Everything is separate, right? So there's no clear guidance, and this is creating lots of problem, as mentioned in the audit report. Inconsistent implementation of security, and because of this, because of the guidance issue, that created operational inefficiencies, and we have inconsistent implementation of security controls. Now, to give you an example, one security firewall for web is different as compared to security firewall for OT, because the OT security firewalls, they are a different beast. They have different, basically the way that they are managed, it's completely different, right? So what we have is that there are two different inconsistent implementation of security controls, because what we are trying to do is we are trying to implement IT controls over OT controls. That's not going to cut. Okay. New systems may be delivered with deficiencies, with inconsistent implementation. And again, the reason, the people are confused, the processes are not there, and the technologies implementation is all upside down. I shouldn't say upside down. I would say it's inconsistent, and it is creating, deficiencies in terms of securing and the security and the implementation of the systems, right? Because there's a tug of war going on between different departments, and IT wants to implement their understanding of security on the OT side, when this is completely different. So we have to, and I will show you my recommendations in the next part, but we may have to take a step back and see and analyze all of those things, right? That's how you have to approach. See how I presented and how you presented. So you go back and write down each and every word for this presentation. Okay. Now, remediation plan and my approach. Go ahead.
So yeah, so this is my plan. That's how I'm going to approach. So in that case, my approach would be people, processes, and technologies. So people are the most important links. I will identify people who owns that findings. I need to clarify, I need to identify the processes and the relevant technologies. Each of the findings needs to be connected with the owner of the findings, who owns 5 highs, 12 medium, 22 lows. I need to meet them, greet them, give them these findings, tell them of an audit report, and we need to find out the best possible way to address these and ask them what is the timeline. But before that, I ask them a timeline. I will ask them what is the processes that you follow that resulted in these findings not being compliant. Because in the audit report, we have not mentioned any detail. It's just a snapshot of an audit report. That's why I have to ask these questions. For example, if the findings is related to DMZs, whereas the network diagram can show me what are the boundary differences do we have on DMZs for the web servers? Do we have on do we have any application firewall, stuff like that? But that's IT stuff. What happens to the OT stuff? Because these findings are specifically targeting the OT stuff. So for the operational technologies, why are these systems allowed to be on the internet in the first place? What is the business justification for that? What are the processes that we have to follow? And does those processes and procedures, do they comply with our ISMS or not? So at the end, I will show you, rather than having ISMS policy, we should have a framework. And I'm going to propose a framework at the very end, how we can ensure that there is a complete harmony and where we have a unified view of risks as it relates to IT and OT. And I will mention that at the very end. But first, I need to identify the processes, how these are interlinked, what are the criticality, what are the plant operations, what could be the shutdown periods, because some findings may only need to be resolved when the plants are not in operations.
Yeah,
Again,
that's good. All right, so I'm going to mention something like this, right? Show them instead of this picture that you have, right? People, processes, and technology. Show them a picture like this, right? And then at the bottom, you can show them structure, task, people, and something like this. The Levitt diamond model, or the golden triangle, which is people, processes, and technology, right? So you can mention and who should be involved, how it should be done, enable people, and support processes, right? So copy stuff from here. Now, this is where you have to mention, because remember, this is an organization which is a power plant. So you have to show people, with yellow hats, hard hats, as we call them, right? Wearing neon jackets. Everyone does that. In that company, everyone wears that so that they can be identified, orange or neon. So you have to mention something like, you have to add some good things. So remediation plan. So my remediation plan is going to involve basically trying to understand, how we can address these 5 highs, 12 mediums, and 22 lows. For example, in the DMZ side, what kind of controls do we need from the DMZ side? Do we need something like segmentation of the network? Do we need, penetration testing, vulnerability assessments? Where are things failing out? All of these things, they matter. From the security configuration side, the remediation plan is going to be meet the people, understand the processes and the technology, and how are we tackling those? What are the key people involved in the secure configuration items? What are the guidance that they're using? Are they using ISA guidance for OT side, or are they using CIS guidelines for securing OT side? I mean, we don't know. I don't know. I don't have the access to that information. So I need to go in deeper.
Faisal bhai, they have mentioned NIS.
NIS, so just mention NIS, but NIS is a directive. The security configurations come from best practices, right? NIS is not the secure. NIS may provide you guidance that go here, go there, go to CIS top, 18 controls, where they are the ones who create all the guidances for secure configuration of the items, right? So you have to mention something like, for the secure configuration of the OT items, how to secure HMI, PLC, distributed control systems, our historians, the data, everything, the sensors, and different kind of devices, OTs, the SIS systems, the safety information system. There's a ton of things that I don't have access to, so which is not mentioned to the data that was provided to me. So I need to understand all the key things. That's the remediation plan for secure configuration. Access control. What do we do with the access control? And you will mention that for the access control, I need to understand, who needs access to what. Is it an open house that everyone has access to everything? No, that should not be the case, right? We need to document the business justification of the ports, of the configurations, of the roles and responsibilities, and provide them access as per their roles and responsibilities. There should be segregation of duties and all these key principles. You have to talk to them in your GRC language, right? And then malware controls, the most important thing right now, one of the most important, not the most, but one of the most important thing is malware controls. We need to have effective malware controls. Again, in the audit snapshot report that was given to me, it's a snapshot. It doesn't give me a lot of information, but I'm sure malware control is going to be part of the, high findings. And, I need to understand what are the people involved, what are the processes that they've been managing, what are the technology components that are prone to these malware attacks, advanced persistent threats, all of these things. So I need to understand the findings, connect them with the people, understand their processes, assist them, guide them, how they can close these gaps by recommendations and consulting. That is my role. Provide them recommendation, consulting, assisting my teammates to ensure, that finding is closed. It may pop up again because risk can never be eliminated. It can be mitigated, or it can be transferred, right? Or it can be accepted. It can't be eliminated, right? So this is going to be an ongoing exercise. We'll keep on having audits. These will keep on popping up, and then we have to go in and address them again, and new things will popping up. So we repeat the cycle, right? So David, when you are going to talk to them, you have to ensure that your camera is open and they're able to see your hand gestures and everything. The confidence needs to come out from your heart, from here. It needs to come out like this. It needs to flow out, right? And then they will be able to see, okay, yes, because when I used to talk in the boardroom, everyone will be looking like this, will be looking at me, right? Because I'm touching the chords, making them laugh, sometimes making them cry, right? Making them sad, showing them the reality. That's our job, right? It's not an easy task. Standing in front of the board of directors is the most difficult thing. You are only going, and you will be doing that in front of the audit committee and other people. So you have to make sure that you have the eloquence, and this will come over time. But what I'm teaching you right now, you have to adopt them and you have to implement them in the way that you're going to talk to them, okay? So copy this, what I just said, add it there. These are short snippets and you use them, right? Next thing is one size fits all. And then you will mention, one of the key glaring findings in this report is we're using ISMS over OT. ISMS needs to be customized with a different flavor for IT and for OT. And there's nothing wrong with ISMS to be implemented, but it needs to be done in a different manner, right? I'm going to jump quickly. Jump box, right? This is the bastion. This is a very orthodox diagram. The diagrams are not good. This one is still better. The diagrams, this one is not good. You have to go online, search, jump box segmentation, right? Something like that. Search online, see, we can find a good diagram or something like that. I mean, you have to find out, like something like this. This is a good diagram. Systems are there, or this is a good diagram. Protecting critical systems with isolation and jump box, right? This is the jump box. You can mention, instead of e-commerce database, you can say SCADA database or IT and OT systems and stuff like that. You can even say SCADA, ICS. It will show you jump box in the context of SCADA, right? So you can see enterprise architectural technical brief. You have to show them some good diagrams. The diagrams needs to be good because, as Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, hearing is not similar to seeing. When you see something, right, it's different when you hear something, right? So this is very, very important, right? So you have to use good diagrams. The diagrams needs to be better. The next thing is this diagram, jump box. It's good. This one looks nice, right? So don't use this. Just say this is one of the segmentation. But over here, use a simple explanation of the diagram like this, jump box or something like that, which will simplify our network. Privileged resource or something like this, workstation, they can't go there until they need something to be accepted and validated, and then show them that, this is just a depiction of how I'm seeing it. these are the recommendations of addressing these audit, requirements, these findings. Essentially, our diagram, our network should look like this. We are not there yet, but we will. If given the opportunity, my role would be to have something like this. This is as per IEC 62443. So audit committee, my plan is to make sure that I identify all the key requirements, identify everything down, write them down, jot them down, do all of those things, right? Meet all the finding owners. I mean, for example, John Doe owns all the access control findings, right? Jane owns all the DMZ requirements. David Beckham, he owns some of the other key requirements as it relates to malware controls, right? Simon, something, he owns, Simon, basically, he owns the other key requirements. So I have to meet them, discuss all the findings, sit down with them, go through the process of their remediation, involve their teams, sit down with them, highlight the importance of when and how this needs to be addressed, and put in monitoring mechanisms to make sure this doesn't come back next year, right? We are monitoring, we are assessing, and the KPIs, the key performance indicators for our department and for them is going to be, if this is closed this time, it should not pop up again. And if it does, we are able to nip it in the bud immediately. Okay. My words of advice. What are the words of advice? What do you want to say?
Faisal bhai, just adopt the best practices, including IEC 62443, ISO 27019, and develop a OT governance framework.
Now, this diagram is very good. It could have been better, right? This is IT, this is OT. For IT, we use IEC 62443 NIST. For NIS 27017, 019, 018, and even the, you can mention the ISO 27001 here as well, right? And then mention the NIST directives, the ISMS is here, mentioned here, ISMS, right? So this is going to be a unified governance, risk, and compliance framework for IT and OT both, where we will have one control, but that one control will be implemented on IT in a different manner and on OT in a different manner. At the end of the day, we will have a network like this. At the end of the day, we will have a network like this. So if we implement this, then it will be like this, right? So my word of advice is that we create, and this may take some time, because we will have some doves in the company, there will be some hawks in the company, right? There will be some chickens in the company and stuff like that. I mean, there are different kind of people, and they need to be dealt in differently, because the role of the GRC is to build up consensus and govern, create a governance framework so that we can minimize the risk and be compliant. That is essentially what GRC really means, right? So I'm recommending this, that we create this, and then from where we will have, as Drax as a company, that if you really want to do something and have a segmented network, a properly controlled network, that is how an ideal network looks like. That's just a high-level network diagram. The low-level network designs will have more things in there, but you just get the gist. Like, this is what I'm proposing, right? Don't mention this. What is this? Oh, this looks like a guy who's doing like this. I don't know what this is happening.
No, Faisal bhai, this is a short clip.
Oh, this is a short clip. What is the clip?
Yeah, it's a funny clip. Like, if you can put it on slideshow, it will appear.
Okay.
No, it's not up. Yeah, it's up
It's
here.
not working for me.
No, it's a YouTube clip. Yeah, if you click on it.
No, it's not showing me. You have to put it YouTube URL correctly, right? Fix everything up. Make sure everything runs fine, right? And then Thank you for your time. Open house, Q&A. Make sure that you go fast, but you go fast, but with eloquence. This is the most important aspect, right? Give them time to think. Make information bite-sized, easy. Add in some jokes, right? Whatever is happening right now. I don't know, right? Use some, I don't know, like whether those people are like, laborers or conservatives, I don't know, right? So we should not use any politics, but use terminologies from sports people and, general things, right? That should be fine. The rest is, presentation is okay, but you need to change the stock of the pictures and you have to be fast. Don't just say, and yeah, that's it. I mean, don't say that. Did you hear anything when I was saying how I was talking? I didn't said, well, that's it. I mean, let's go to the next slide. No, don't ever say that. Okay, this is the presentation 101. You have seen me in giving presentation for so long. And if you guys haven't learned this thing, that's going to, harm you guys, because you have to be very, very careful. Okay, that is my feedback. May Allah give you success. Go with full
Faisal,
force.
Faisal bhai, one query, that how to set up the KPIs and KRIs, like key risk indicators and KPIs.
You can only do that once you understand the risk appetite, the risk tolerance levels, the risk management policy, all of these things. And the GRC policy, there needs to be a GRC framework. I don't know if they're following ISO 38,000 framework for GRC. For the risk management, they might be following 27,005 or some NIST requirements or something like that. I don't know. So you can mention, if they ask you, how do you configure this, right? For key performance indicators and key, risk indicators, right? You can mention, well, we can look into different systems. Again, Archer, security metrics. There are different systems available in the market that we can deploy, which can provide us real-time information and what is happening within the company and how and where that specific opening or that finding is there. Is it closed? Is it open? Is it being remediated? What is the timeline? All of these things can be seen from one singular view. That requires some work and some implementation, because it's not only just getting a piece of technology and implementing it. It requires people to be ready, processes to be implemented and designed and implemented and rolled out. And then we look into the technology part, right? Until then, we can create some scripts, some automation scripts, some things like that. If there's a finding for malware controls, we can see and ask those guys if they have implemented something like that in there. There's so many things that we can do, right? But to really design KPIs and key performance indicators and key risk indicators, I really need to get access to a lot of information. And then I will be in a position to tell you how these can be dealt with. Okay?
Okay, Faisal bhai. And what about setting the milestones?
Milestones
Again,
are achievable targets. So,
yeah.
if given the opportunity, tell them within 6 months, we should be able to close up the findings, depending on how many resources the other team people have. Otherwise, 9 months. In the worst case scenario, we may be able to close the gap, in 12 months' time. However, the most important thing is going to be that in the short term, immediately, we put a band-aid, segment the system, cut it off from the internet. And only all the systems should only be, and the traffic to that system is only routable, that maintenance or management traffic. All the engineers whoever is accessing those OT devices, HMI, PLCs, DSCs, whatever we have, historians and whatever, like there's tons of things in there. Whatever we have, in IT, we only have servers, firewalls, switches. Here we have server firewall switches, but then we have other things. We have sensors, we have patch panels, we have HMIs, we have PLC. There are tons of things in there, and everything needs to be tackled differently. So cut off the traffic from the, so that they're not exposed on the internet. And everything is exposed through a dedicated jump box, right? That jump box is closely and tightly monitored. Whoever goes in, goes out. We're keeping an eye on that. That's a temporary fix. In the long term, we design controls. In the short term, we put a band-aid. That's what we do. So milestones needs to be designed differently. Okay?
Okay, First Bhai.
All right. I wish you, inshallah, the best. May Allah give you success. Inshallah, go work hard. I will see you all in my next class. Okay? Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum
Jazakallah.
wa rahmatullah.